Okay, well, welcome everybody to the online writing workshop. My name is Erin. I am the Student Services Librarian at Grace. And this workshop, really, the function of this particular workshop is just going to be a question and answer. I'm here to answer, we call it an open forum or ask a librarian workshop. So I'm going to answer whatever questions you have about writing, the library, research, and that kind of thing. So if you do have a question that's on your mind, go ahead and type it in the chat box and I will read it out and then answer it for you. Share my screen, do some video demonstration and that kind of thing. The workshop is being recorded, so if you miss something or you have to leave or your internet isn't working the way you want it to, that kind of thing, I will email the recording out tomorrow morning so that other people can see it as well, and so that you can have it, you can save it to have for reference if you would like to. So go ahead and if you have any questions, otherwise I'll have to think fast on my feet and find something to talk about. Okay, citations. Do you have a particular citation, Nola, that you're looking for, or is it something more just in general? Okay, Nancy, in terms, okay. Nancy, I'm going to answer Nola's question first, and then I will get to yours on writing in APA. So when to italicize, let me get my screen up here. Okay. When to italicize on citations, it depends on what kind of citation you're doing. So I'm going to go to probably the OWL at Purdue. And show you in APA. They italicize, oh, that's a hard word to say. Italicizations, I'm not sure. When you italicize, it depends on what kind of thing that you are citing. So, and for instance, if you're going to be citing a book, the title and the subtitle would be italicized, but nothing else. And then if you're going to be citing an article in a periodical, the title of the periodical and the volume number are italicized, but the title of the article is not italicized and the issue number is not italicized. And you can see here how that's in, it's actually put in an actual citation, so you can see what that looks like. So this is the author and the year that it was published, the title of the article, the title of the publication, the volume number, and then this one doesn't have an issue number, it just has the pages. And then if you do find it online, you're going to want to put it, put the URL that you found it at the bottom, at the end of that citation. Let's see. Yeah, this would be a journal article off ProQuest or a journal article, even a journal from a magazine. If you were going to use one of those, the title of the article would not be italicized, but the title of the magazine would be. And then if you do get it from online, from ProQuest, you want to put the URL at the end of that citation. No, you don't italicize the article title. The article title is right here, and that's in regular. So that's just in regular Times New Roman size 12. The title of the periodical, the magazine or the journal that you got it from, that's italicized, but not the article title. Okay, so that's what to italicize. It's usually the title of, if it's a book, it's, there's only one title in the book. So there's the title of the book, but if it's an article, the title of the article is not italicized, the title of the journal is, and the volume number. Okay, and Nancy, you need help with writing your papers. How does that work? When you go into Microsoft Word, okay, while I'm waiting for that to open, I'm going to show you something else too. We have the Grace Christian University website under current students and the online writing lab. Grace Writing Workshop recordings, that's these workshops here are recorded and then posted up here if they're going to be published. If not, we'll just email it out so people have it for reference. But Nancy, you may want to take a look at this September workshop, the paper structure and preparation. It's a video with PowerPoint and stuff to help you to go over what, the basics of writing a paper in APA and everything. But now that I have Microsoft Word open, I like to use the APA style report template. And if you don't have it up here in your stuff yet, you can type in APA right here and it'll bring it up for you. So I like to use that. Okay, and this will show you sort of what an APA paper is supposed to look like. It has a running head up here in the header. You have your page number. Then this is your title here, your first and last name, and then if you're writing for Grace, it would be Grace Christian University right here. You don't need the author's note, so I usually delete that. And then unless your professor asks you specifically to write an abstract, you won't need that either. So I delete that. And then this right here is your title again, but once you put the title in up here, it will also put it right here for you. And then you write the introduction of your paper. You don't label it with the word introduction or anything. It's just the paragraph that leads into your topic. You start out a little bit more broadly and you move into a thesis statement that tells the reader what your paper is going to be about. And then you jump into the rest of your paper. You don't have to use headings. So I usually just go in and really delete everything underneath that first paragraph. And then when you start typing, it'll just delete all that for you. So really, this is really helpful when you're learning to write an APA because it'll do it for you, all those little things. So you click up here. And this is what it needs to look like. So you have the running head like this, and you leave that the way it is. This should be in all capitals here. And then on the next page, it'll only do the all capitals thing. And that's exactly how it should look. So you leave it just like that. And then everything is in Times New Roman size 12. It's double spaced all the way through. And then when you get to the point where you need to put your references in, the word references needs to be centered like this. And then the actual references page, you need to take this little caret. It's called a hanging indent. There it is, hanging indent, and then move that over like that. And that'll make the bottom line. This then needs to come over here. And so then this would be the title of the, oops, would be, sorry about that. Okay. This would be the author's last name, first initial, the year it was published, title of the book, and then city it was published in and the publisher, like that. So this is the basic reference for a book. And there are things, I'll show you how to cite that too. You can pull citations off of the websites that we have, the databases that we use for research. Let me open up my chat window again here. Okay, so Nancy, does that help? Did that answer your question more or less to get started? What about a magazine article? Okay, I'll show you that also, Maurice. Let me see here. Laura, yes, available tutoring. I will tell you more about that. Thanks, Nancy. Okay, so I'm going to jump right into the tutoring system at Grace. That's also found at the online writing lab. So it's just gracechristian.edu, current students, online writing lab. And then depending on what program you're in, you can select a tutor session. So I'm going to guess that a lot of you in this online writing workshop are online students, although not all of you may not be. So if you're an on-campus student, you choose this option. If you're an online student, you choose this option. And if you're in the graduate program for a master's degree, you would choose this option. So I'm going to click on the middle one to show you what it looks like. So here is how you schedule a session. So you would, if you don't have an account yet, you would create one right here. And then you would scroll down and choose one of our tutors from the menu. And it shows you when they're available to do tutoring sessions, the green squares. And then we have another one here. So there are lots of times available usually for you to choose a tutoring session or a paper review. If you want to do a paper review, you just hit submit a paper and follow the same procedure. And then, excuse me, your tutor and you will get in contact usually through email or a phone call or something to figure out whether you're going to meet like on the phone or do email or a video conference. I highly recommend video conference tutoring because it's just, you can see their screen like this and it gives you a much better idea of what's going on, especially if you're an online student and you don't get that face-to-face interaction very often. So then once you choose a time, for instance, or a day, you choose a day first and then you pick a time and then you hit the book now button and you'll fill out a form and it'll send it to the tutor so they know who they're meeting, when they're meeting, what it's about, what class it's for, and that kind of thing. So that's how you schedule a tutoring session. Wilna, yes, you can schedule a session to get help with the APA format. You just pick a tutor, schedule a time and a date, and let them know in the form that you fill out when you book the appointment that you'd like help with APA. Okay, and a reference source from the web and the scholarly database. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of tackle a couple of things at once here, going into the databases, showing you how to cite a reference from the internet and through a magazine article. So I'm going to get back to, here we go. I'm going to get back to current students on the Grace Christian University website. Log into the library databases. And then here, you need to kind of pick and choose your databases depending on your topic. ProQuest is primarily secular, but they have a lot of information on a lot of different areas. So this is going to be one that you're going to do for like a research article or research paper that you're doing. Business is all about the business stuff. If you're in your class, in your business classes, this is going to be a good one to plug into. The theological database is the one where we house all of our theological, evangelical, and from like a Christian worldview perspective, that's all of those articles. And then ERIC is the Education Resource Information Center. It's primarily on K through 12 and higher education materials. So I'm going to go into ProQuest quick. And when you're off campus, you do need to log in. And these are just your Grace credentials. So for most of you, it would be first name dot last name, and then whatever password you use to get into your Grace email account and Blackboard and that kind of thing. And then you always want to check full text and peer reviewed to make sure the articles that you get back are in their full text so that you can read the whole article online and that they come from a peer reviewed source, which means that that experts in the field review the article to make sure that it's a high quality article and fit for publishing in the academic world. So when I type or when I search in the database, I usually try to put two terms together because most of the time you're researching a topic, but you're coming at it from a certain angle. So let's say you're researching depression and you want to do something specifically with adolescence. So I like to type that capital A-N-D, which ties those two terms together so that the word depression and adolescence will come up in each of the article results that I get. So just assuming that this first article is one that I'm going to want to use, I'm going to click on this one. And then it looks like this was originally published in French, maybe. So, but the article is in English, so that won't be a problem. But over here, you can see the toolbox that you have. That's what I call it anyway, where you can download the PDF of the article and save it to your computer. And then this is the citation button, and this button is like super awesome. So you click on cite, and then it's already in the APA. That's the natural, sort of natural for ProQuest because they do a lot of human services, psychology, healthcare, and science stuff, which means the APA is generally the citation style that they need to use. And so you just would highlight this, copy it, and then go back to that APA paper that you have open in Microsoft Word. And then you would paste it, but when you do paste it, make sure that you merge formatting here because that will make sure that, excuse me, that you keep those italics that you need. So the journal title and the volume number are italicized, but nothing else is. This one is unusual because it's a really long citation. So I'm gonna undo that one, go back to my articles here, and maybe pick the second one down. And just do the same thing. Again, you can download the PDF. You can save it. If you create what's called a My Research account within the ProQuest system, you can save articles right to their database, like to their servers. So as long as you have internet access, you don't need to be on your computer. If you're in the Grace Christian University ProQuest, you can go in here and retrieve the articles that you saved to their system. So again, I'm going to hit cite. This one's a little bit shorter. Copy. And then paste with a merge. But then it is, see how everything is left aligned here? You're going to want to hit that hanging indent here and move that over so that the first line goes all the way to the left of your paper, and then every line after that is indented by a ½ inch over. And then your next one is going to look the same way. So that's one of the ways to search the journal articles, the Scholar for the database. I like to use these are called Boolean operators, and so usually they're and or not, like that, all in capital letters. And we'll make sure that both terms are in every article that comes back. Not will exclude a particular word, and or will kind of make sure that it searches for everything. So just to show you how that works, I'm going to do depression, not adolescents. Let's say you're not looking for that particular age group, and you hit search again, and it will make sure that everything that comes up does not have the word adolescent in it. So those are like the best tools for searching databases. Something else that you're going to want to, okay, so when you have a term that needs to be, it's like more than one word. If it's 2 words or more and you need to have those words grouped together, you're going to want to use quotation marks like this. And that will make sure, whoops, not like that. That will make sure that these 2 words appear in that order right next to each other, so that searches it as one term rather than 2 separate words. Let me get into my chat here. Okay, let me see what your questions are, Noah. Okay, that was a lot of questions in one, but I'll see what I can do about those. Yep, when you are writing an APA, some people will try and the title does belong in like the top third of the page. You don't want to have it right in the center. So when you fold the page in half, like Noah was saying, then you can still see all of this information. So it's in the, basically just leave it where they have it on the template and it'll be correct. Okay, Maurice, the citation for a magazine article is going to be a lot like the citation for a journal article. Let me get to one that I can read online. Okay, so let's say I'm reading a Time magazine article, and I want to read this one. Okay, so what I'm looking for here is, oh, here it is. This is the name of the author. So I'm going to go back here and down here, oops, to my references page. Go back to my article, make sure I spell it right, V-E-S-O-U-L-I-S. V-E-S-O-U-L-I-S, comma, I think it was a V. Let me look. Nope, Abby. Okay. upside down. There we go. And then I am going to want the November 17th, 2018. So that's 2018, 17, November. The title of the article is this. Copy. Let's see what this does. Nope, undo. Okay, so it's going to be inmates fighting fires are more likely to get hurt, records show. Then you italicize this, Time Magazine, and then you would copy the URL. Oops, that doesn't want to be italicized though. Undo that. Not italicized. Retrieved from that. So that's how you would do a magazine article. It's the last name, first initial, the year, and then the day and month it was published if it has a day. If not, just put the month, or if it's just the year, just put the year. If, for instance, there is no date attached to it, then that would look like this. If there's no date attached to a particular source, you just put N period, D period inside these parentheses to indicate that there was no date. But most of the time, especially for a prominent magazine, there's going to be one. So then it would be like this. The title of the article is not italicized, but the time of the title of the magazine is, and then the website that you got it from. Let me go back to Purdue and make sure that, oh, gracious. And I wonder if there's a, okay, other print sources. No, let's go back one. Okay, article in a magazine like this. Oh, I was wrong. It's not the date first. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to copy and paste this and look at what it looks like, because they did. Okay, so it's the author's last name, the first initials. This guy has several initials, and he's the third of. So that's generally last name, first initial, period, the year, and then the month and the day. And then again, yeah, there's the whole magazine, the whole title of the article is not capitalized, just the first letter. And then this is italicized, it's Time Magazine. This is the volume number. It's also italicized. And then this was a print version. So this is the pages of the magazine that they got this particular citation from. Yeah, Nola, I just got that wrong. And this, for a magazine, you put the year and then the month and the day, not the other way around. Sorry about that. That's why it's good to always have like a trusty website. The title of the first page. Maurice, can you clarify centering the title on the first page? That is right. You want to center this right here. Well, you center it in terms of left to right, but in terms of like from top to bottom, it's in the top third, but it is centered on the page. So that's where the title goes. Okay, yeah. And citations for a definition or an article from the internet would be, I'm going to just go back to that trusty OWL website. It can be kind of confusing at first, but once you figure out how to navigate this website, it really is super helpful for APA citation stuff. So electronic sources. So here's like an online periodical. So that's like a journal article like we talked about. And then we have a newspaper article from online, electronic books, Kindle books. Let's see if I can find, oh, here we go, encyclopedias and dictionaries. So if you were to cite a definition from online, you would do something like this, where it's the title of the article or the word that you're defining, whether you can find a date or not. Usually in an online dictionary or encyclopedia, you're not going to find a date, so it says no date there. And then you write in, which is not italicized, and then you write the name of the encyclopedia or dictionary that is italicized, and then retrieved from the URL that you got it from. And then in your text, when you're typing, let me get this a little closer here. You know, according to Encyclopedia Britannica online, the definition of feminism is, actually, I don't think that that would be in quotation marks. Definition of feminism is, and whatever, you know, the definition is that they put online, and then you would end your quote, and then like that. So, and then down here, it would be copied from here, basically. So in your works cited page, that would look like that. And then they would look it up, like whoever's checking your paper would look up the word feminism because you referenced it as feminism in your text like that. Let me get back to my chat window here. Oh, how do you italicize? Okay, so when you're in your Microsoft Word program, if you want to italicize something, you just highlight what it is you want to italicize. And then on the Home tab, you would come over here and then click italics, and it would change it to italicized. Otherwise, if you click it again, it turns it off. The same thing with like bold and underline. So those are just options to change the way that the text looks. But generally, if you're copying and pasting from someplace and you merge the formatting, it's going to have what you need italicized done so for you already. But that is how you do it inside the program. Okay, yeah. And then Yeah, sometimes when I just start my research, I will open up a blank Word document that's just a references page and just copy and paste all of the citations, like all of the articles that I find, their citations into the references page. So in case I use the article in my paper, I already have it cited in my references or listed anyway, so that I can come back to the article if I need to, or I know what page numbers I got it from. I just usually do that when I research, to just start a blank document with my references pasted in so that I know what I've already looked up, what I'm searching for, and that kind of thing. Yeah, and my references page right now is not in alphabetical order, but it will need to be when I turn my paper in. So in that case, I would just, it starts with A, but this V would go cut E, F, G, H. Okay, so this V would go down here, and then Henry, E, F is before H, so I would cut this one also, make sure it goes under feminism, delete that extra space there. And so now my references list is in alphabetical order, and it's it's in the right style. It's in the correct format for APA references list. Yeah, cutting and pasting really helps when you do that. Just make sure that you're careful when you highlight, because you might delete part of your citation and then you'll have to figure out what it is. So yeah, cutting and pasting and copying and pasting can be good, but you need to double check it to make sure that you don't accidentally delete something, that if you copy and paste, that it gets pasted in the correct format, by like keeping the, keeping the italics where you need them and that kind of thing. So yeah, once you're comfortable with it, copying and pasting and cutting and pasting, if you do it right, can be real good time savers. Let me get back here. Okay, did I miss any other questions? Is there anything else that anyone has a question on? Oh yeah, if there's no author, which does happen sometimes, no, you don't put a comma between the author and the date. That's always a period. Yeah, no matter what you're citing, between the author's name and the date in parentheses, it's always a period. If you're citing it in your text, though, like let's just pretend that that's somebody's last name. When you're citing it in your text, you would have a comma between the author's last name and the date, but not in your references page. And then if it's a direct quote, you need to include the page number as well that you get it from. If it doesn't have a page number, you would count the number of paragraphs and type it like that, paragraph number 26 or page number 26. So I guess in a way there is a time when you would have a comma between the author's name and the date, but only in your in-text citations, not ever in your references page. And then I'm going to get back to that. To what if there's no author? If there's no author, it's sort of like this, with this definition, with this article in the dictionary. If there's no author, you would start with the title of the article. So let's say, for instance, we're doing this one and pretend that there is no author on this one, although journal articles from the databases will always have authors. Something that won't have an author is just some like a random website or a definition online, that kind of thing. So in the case where there is no author, and sometimes if you're using a blog, you can cite blogs for things that are not like vital to your research, if it's something interesting but doesn't have, but not trying to prove your point. Oops. See, here's an instance of copying and pasting not working because they didn't capitalize Canada when it came across. So those are things you want to check for. But pretending that this particular article did not have an author, the title of the article goes here, then the date, then the title of the journal retrieved from, sort of like you would on an encyclopedia. And then when you are citing that in your text, it would be investigating 2016, page number 27, like that. So then whatever the first word is in the references page is what you would put in the parenthetical notation so that someone who's looking up your sources can go and find it in your references page and then look it up from where you got it from. Nola, can you specify what you mean by, if it's in the introduction, do we capitalize introduction or just intro? Oh, if it comes from the introduction of the article, that would just be the author's last name, the year it came from, and then the page number that the introduction is on. Or if you're going by paragraphs and it's the first paragraph, it would just be paragraph 1. Any other questions for now? Yeah, if you are, for instance, quoting something that you don't want to use the whole quote in, 4 out of 5, ... agree that Fruit Loops are the best cereal. So if you are Jones 2016, page 15. Okay, so if you need to, like, let's say 4 out of 5 exhausted mothers agree that Fruit Loops are the best cereal, but you don't want to put exhausted mothers, you can put an ellipsis there, which are the 3 dots, and that means, hey, I've left a few words out of this. And so then someone knows when they're reading this quote that this isn't the whole thing that they wrote, you just chose what to use out of the quote to make it shorter or whatever. So that is what the ellipsis does. Typically the ellipsis doesn't come up to a new sentence unless, I mean, if you're trying to make a point, like you're drawing it out, like it's an extra pause, and you know, like a comma is a short pause, a period is a longer pause. And like when you're reading it out loud, that's what those do. So the ellipsis really is for effect, like, okay, pause extra here, and then keep reading. So it's more of a spoken effect punctuation mark unless you're using it like this to take out words from a quote. I wouldn't normally use ellipsis to go into a new sentence in APA writing. a lot of us in our everyday writing are used to putting in things for audible effect, like you want someone to read what you're writing the way that you would have spoken it. You know, like you're texting someone or in an email, you want them to read that pause or whatever. Yeah, I'm not sure. Generally, I don't put a lot of ellipses in my papers, especially in like APA research reports. I would usually just start the sentence after a period. So, any other questions that I can answer for you? You guys have really good questions. You're a great group. You've been really interactive, so thank you for that. That makes my workshops a lot more fun to do at 9 o'clock at night, you know. I don't know about the 4 ellipses. Typically it's 3, but I am going to hang out until 10 in case anybody pops up with a new question. Yeah, it could have been an accident. You know, sometimes you're typing fast and your fingers get out of control and you hit more buttons than you mean to, but especially if it was a personal communication, like if it's an email or a discussion board post or something like that. Sometimes they're just not careful about their punctuation, which is, you know, normal. So just while I'm waiting for more questions in case any pop up, just out of curiosity, I'm in Grand Rapids right now and it's cold and snowy. Is anybody coming from a warm and sunny place tonight? Okay, let's look at the block quote on APA. Type that in, block quote APA. $54 is not bad. Up here it's like 22, I think. Okay, so long quotations in APA. Oh, it looks like technically the period goes before the parenthetical notation, not after, which would differentiate it from a short quotation where that goes after the parenthetical notation. And that's probably because you don't use quotation marks on a block quote. It's a longer quote. And so it's stylized, it's formatted differently to help differentiate it from the shorter ones that are regular in text quotations. Yeah, Monroe, Michigan, you're not that far from me. It's probably the same where you are. Yeah, so there are a lot of different citation generators that you can use. I always look it up on APA, like Purdue OWL, or the APA blog is a nice resource too. And I think we have a link to that in our online writing lab. So even when I do a citation generator and I copy and paste a citation, I usually come back to something like the Purdue OWL, which is like one of the recognized leaders in APA citation information on the internet. I usually would come back and just double check and make sure that I did it right or that it copy and pasted correctly in terms of the references list, especially because sometimes those can be a little funky when you copy and paste them. So keeping something that you trust and that you know how to navigate, like the Purdue OWL website, is a good way to just make sure that everything gets the way you need it to be. Yeah, so when you do make a block quote, you can't just jump right into it. Like, it has to say something like this. Jones's 1998 study found the following, and then the block quote, because if you just start with a block quote, it'll basically, it kind of hides it in the paragraph, and it's hard to pick out. So you do need to introduce it like that. But most of your quotations are going to be introduced by something sort of like that. Using a comma instead of a colon. That's a good question. I'm gonna show you a resource that I like to use. The University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill has a really nice writing lab. And they have a lot of stuff on punctuation. I just have to find it. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna do it this way. Here we go, UNC Writing Center. Okay, this is what I want. When it decides to load anyway. All right, I'm gonna wait for that to load, and I'm gonna check what's up here. Yeah, punctuation can be tricky because we tend to write the way that we think. So some of the ways, one thing that I've learned that helps is reading your paper out loud back to yourself, because when you write the way that you think and you read it in your head, your brain will automatically make corrections to the way that it sounds inside your head. So if you take the time to read it out loud, where you're actually hearing the way that your sentence structure sounds, you can catch a lot of those minor